Red and Gold woke up to one of those days that looks quiet until you connect the dots. There's a behind-the-scenes decision that could reshape who's really steering this defense. There's a big-name coaching link floating around Santa Clara, but the clock might not be waiting on anyone. There's a draft idea that feels too far ahead, unless it's actually the move that protects the present. And there's a piece of news that explains why this offseason already feels shaky. Think about that for a second. Before we dive in, hit like, subscribe, and drop your take in the comments, because this is going to split the faithful. Would you wait or make the call right now? You know that moment when a franchise tells you, without saying it, that it's done living off duct tape and vibes? That's the signal today. Because while a lot of people are stuck on who replaces Saleh, there's a bigger layer hiding in plain sight. The 49ers might be mapping out 2026 as a season where protecting Brock Purdy isn't a hope, it's a plan. And no, this isn't just draft for a need. This is the kind of forward thinking that separates teams that stay in the Super Bowl conversation from teams that spend January watching somebody else. It starts with something that sounds harmless. Mel Kiper Jr. dropped his first 2026 mock draft, and he's got the Niners making a pick that's going to light up Levi Stadium in both directions. Some fans will love the long-term vision. Others will say, we need impact right now. And honestly, I get both. But pay attention to what it reveals. Kiper has the 49ers taking Utah offensive tackle Caleb Lomu at number 27 overall. And yeah, I can already hear it. A tackle now? Here's the thing. Trent Williams turns 38 this summer, and he has 1 year left on his deal. You don't kick the can down the road on the most important spot on your O-line. You get out in front of it before it becomes a full-blown crisis. And Lomu isn't just a big body. Kiper bumped him into his top 25 and highlighted the rare combo, legit pass pro and real run blocking ability, with quickness that actually plays at the NFL level. The production backs it up. 24 career starts, only 3 sacks allowed in that span, and all 3 came in 2024. For a team that wants Christian McCaffrey running downhill and Purdy staying clean in the pocket, that's not a luxury. Quick pause, because this is where people get it twisted. Even if Trent doesn't retire after next season, this still helps you. Williams is still playing at an elite level. Kiper even pointed out that he graded 3rd among tackles in 2025 with a 91.5 overall PFF grade. So you're not replacing him tomorrow. You're building a bridge so you don't fall off a cliff later. And you can get creative with it. Lomu can develop, rotate, and if you really need to, you can slide him inside for reps at guard before eventually moving him to left tackle when the time comes. And look at the bigger offseason context. There are more than 25 players headed toward free agency. Juwan Jennings, Kendrick Bourne, Ben Barch, Spencer Burford, Jordan Elliott, Yetur Gross-Matos, Jake Tongas, Thomas Morstead, Eddie Pinheiro. Holes can open up fast on every unit. Add George Kittle's Achilles injury to the mix, and the margin for error gets thinner. If the 49ers want a real playoff run in 2026, the protection plan can't keep being figure it out on Sunday. And if you think that's the only conversation that's going to divide the fan base, hold on, because the next name being floated in Santa Clara could set the Bay on fire. Because while we're still processing the idea of drafting for tomorrow to survive today, there's another storyline heating up behind the scenes, and this one could change the tone of the entire offseason. The name floating around the defensive coordinator search isn't some random clipboard guy. It's someone with instant credibility, real locker room pull, and the kind of resume that makes players listen the second he walks in. Raheem Morris. Keep that one in your back pocket. This talk has legs for a simple reason. Morris appears to be playing the head coaching carousel first. He's waiting to see if a big door opens, and only after that shakes out would he seriously entertain a defensive coordinator role. And if that's the reality, the 49ers become one of the most logical landing spots. Because if a coach like that hits the market, teams that want stability and leadership start circling immediately. And this isn't just NFL networking. Morris has real ties to Kyle Shanahan, overlapping paths, long-term respect, and the kind of relationship where a head coach trusts you with an entire side of the ball. There's even been past Shanahan praise for Morris as one of the best coaches he's worked with. Public praise plus history plus a massive need, that's how rumors turn into momentum. Now here's why it actually makes sense in San Francisco. Whoever takes over this defense is inheriting issues that don't feel purely schematic. They feel personnel-driven. The biggest defensive problem in 2025 wasn't the edge. It was the middle, interior disruption, and second-level coverage. Too many clean step-ups, too many drives where the pass rush did enough, but quarterbacks still had space to breathe. And you can't go into 2026 watching that same story repeat while you're trying to protect a window. So, the logic behind the Morris link is clear. If the 49ers want someone ready-made, experienced, respected, able to stabilize a unit fast, Morris checks a lot of boxes, especially if they decide not to lock themselves into a quick in-house answer just for the sake of speed. But there's a wrinkle, and it's a big one: patience. If Morris really is waiting on the head coaching market to finish, San Francisco has to choose between moving now for continuity or waiting for higher upside leadership. And that kind of choice creates daily tension, because the moment one head coaching door closes, the dominoes start falling somewhere else. So I've got to ask you straight, if you were calling the shots, would you wait for Raheem Morris, or would you lock in continuity right now? And while everyone debates who's calling the defense, there's a quieter problem that doesn't show up in highlight reels, but it decides seasons: the offensive line. Or more accurately, the lack of a real long-term plan for it. If Trent Williams wasn't wearing red and gold the last few years, this conversation would have turned into a full-blown public crisis already. Because when you really break this roster down, the O-line has felt like a patchwork project. Spencer Burford has bounced between tackle and guard, and he's a pending free agent. Jake Brendel is 33, and at his best, has been replacement level. Colton McKivitz is a budget tackle who plays like a budget tackle. That's not hate. That's what the tape says. Then, you look for young upside, and you basically find one name in the starting five: Dominic Pooney. And even he struggled through 2025 after, surprise, an early injury. After that, it's a shelf full of maybe someday. A young guard like Connor Colby, a guy like Ben Barch if he could ever stay healthy. But a contender can't build its identity on if. And the scary part? This neglect has already been costly. Not hypothetically, it got exposed again against Seattle. The most high-profile failures include the 2023 Super Bowl and the 2021 NFC Championship game. But the 49ers brass has often dodged the worst scrutiny by pointing to the Trent Williams signing and retention, which, to be fair, is the truth. He's the best lineman on the roster by a mile, and one of the best in football. The problem is the leverage that creates. Trent Williams has enormous leverage over this entire operation. He could threaten to walk away. He could hold out the way he did in 2024, and San Francisco would be nearly powerless besides trying to placate or pay him, because there isn't a credible alternative on the roster. We saw it when a depth option like Austin Pleasance had to get pressed into action from way down the depth chart. That's how thin it is. So the situation is messy. Years of neglect in the trenches have left the 49ers dependent on a 37-year-old superstar tackle who could, at any point, push the offense toward an emergency rebuild. The good news is it doesn't look like Trent wants to use that leverage. The bad news is you can't build a plan on someone's generosity. Either way, the 49ers have to strengthen the O-line this offseason, find young players to develop, invest in quality starters. And yeah, I've been saying that for years, and I've been yelling it on Niner Noise for the last 2. But at some point, the luck runs out. Finding Trent's long-term, and realistically short-term, heir isn't optional anymore. And speaking of reality hitting fast, there's a reason this offseason started feeling unstable so quickly. Robert Saleh is officially the new head coach of the Tennessee Titans. He met with them on Monday, and the deal came together fast. His second stint with the 49ers only lasted the 2025 season, but emotionally, it felt bigger than that. For a lot of the faithful, Saleh's name still carries the DNA of that suffocating defense that drove the 2019 run to Super Bowl LIV. Speed, violence, identity. So when he returned in 2025, it felt like a reunion that could reset the vibe. But the NFL doesn't run on nostalgia. Saleh's path explains why he hit this market with real value. He started in Houston back in 2005, climbed from an intern role to quality control, then linebackers coach. He spent time on Seattle's staff during their Super Bowl 48 season. Then he coached linebackers in Jacksonville before joining Shanahan's staff in 2017. In San Francisco, he grew into a defensive coordinator who helped shape one of the league's defining units and got the team to the Super Bowl. The Jets' head coaching job in 2021 was the logical next step. New York is relentless, and when the wins don't stack, the head coach becomes the target. After being dismissed in 2024, he returned to San Francisco as DC in 2025. But it always felt like he still saw himself as a head coach, and the Titans gave him that runway. There's also a detail that matters. The 49ers won't receive compensatory draft picks for losing Saleh this time, because minority candidates must have been with the team at least 2 seasons to qualify under that rule. So from a team-building standpoint, it's a clean loss, no future asset attached. And that leaves San Francisco with 2 pressures at once. You have to stabilize the defense quickly, and you have to do it without the benefit of draft compensation cushioning the blow. So after everything we talked about, the Saleh exit, the DC search drama, the O-line reality, and the draft future planning, this is the truth staring us in the face. The 49ers aren't rebuilding, but they can't live off momentum either. The window is still open, but it demands bold decisions right now. So let me ask you, do you want this front office to move like a true contender, or react like a team trying to survive week to week? Drop your take in the comments. Hit like if you ride with the Niners, and make sure you're subscribed, because this debate is just getting started.